Late at night in New York City, this young lady unhurriedly slips into her panties before giving a retouch to her makeup. Afterwards, she goes to meet her one-night stand and cleans off the blood stain on his mouth. It turns out she had slit his throat. She carefully cleans off her fingerprints on his hands and body before abandoning his body in the hotel room. Her name is Hazel. 20 years later, Hazel now runs a diner and spends her days attending to boring customers who are unaware of her dark past.
What's in that tuna melt besides tuna? Cheese.
Whenever a cop buys from the restaurant, she quietly waives the bill. Her teenage daughter Joy notices this and calls her out on it, so she explains that she needs to maintain good relations with the police so they'll respond quickly if she ever has an emergency.
You can't afford to keep comping the cops.
As they discuss, she notices her daughter's boyfriend sitting at one of the chairs in the restaurant, so she expresses her dislike for him. Seeing her mother's hatred for the boy, Joy decides to make a bold request. She begs her mother to hand over her college savings so that she can travel out of Vegas and start a new life with her boyfriend. On hearing this, Hazel criticizes her daughter for coming up with such an idea and refuses to release the college funds.
Because I've been trying to figure it out on my own, but it must be some sort of...
She advises her daughter to break up with him, claiming he's a bad influence, but Joy insists that her boyfriend is a good person. They begin to argue, so Joy becomes fed up and announces she'll relocate with her boyfriend without the college funds.
My girls too, at that age, always in a mood.
That same day, Joy serves a customer who reveals he has no money after ordering and eating. As Joy yells at him for being a fraud, Hazel steps in to talk to the customer. The man reveals he's homeless and can't pay for the food, so Hazel offers him a dishwashing job and a room to stay. After checking the room, he introduces himself as Elliot. Meanwhile, Joy's boyfriend continues to disturb her for the money for relocation. So she tells him to get the money elsewhere, but he refuses and insists that they use her college savings. The following day, as Hazel attends to her usual chattering customers, she spots her daughter returning home with sunglasses. Without hesitation, she leaves the customers and goes to question her daughter about the sunglasses. However, she notices the girl's attempt to conceal her face, so she forcefully rips off the glass and is shocked to see her daughter with a wounded eye.
Don't hurt him. His family's dangerous.
Joy tries to explain that it was a mistake made by the boyfriend, but Hazel storms out angrily. At home, she changes into a badass dress and pulls out a gun from underneath her bed before storming off to meet her daughter's boyfriend. The boyfriend, unaware of the impending danger, happily chats with a friend at a repair store. When Hazel storms in and requests a private chat, he refuses to budge and even makes fun of her with his mechanic friend. Upon hearing his degrading words, Hazel suddenly throws a hard punch at his face and follows it up with a kick, which knocks him to the ground. The mechanic friend tries to intervene, but she hits him with pepper spray, causing him to stay rooted to the ground. The boyfriend begins to bleed on the face due to the punch, so she pulls out a gun and instructs him to follow her out. When he refuses, she fires a bullet close to his ears and makes another order, so he fearfully follows her while complaining about his broken nose. At the car booth, she removes his phone and throws it away. Then, she orders him to sit in the booth in order to tie him up with a tape. Afterwards, she drives several miles into the Vegas desert before stopping to pull him out of the booth. They walk to a grave, and she suddenly pushes him in. Then, she reveals that she had dug the grave on the first day they met since she knew he would one day abuse her daughter. After saying this, she shoots him and leaves without covering up the grave. The next day, Joy tries to contact her boyfriend, but there's no response to her texts, so she confronts her mother about her missing boyfriend. The mother lies that she only argued with the boy, so he decided to leave the city alone. Joy doesn't believe this and reveals that her boyfriend's family are violent criminals.
They're criminals. Like, violent criminals.
So they'll come for revenge if anything happens to the boy. But the mother isn't scared of the future. After the girl storms off angrily, Elliot comes to console Hazel, but they immediately notice a suspicious man taking photos of Elliot. She goes to confront the man, but he leaves without saying a word. At this moment, she catches Elliot having a meltdown in the kitchen. When he sees her watching him, he immediately pretends to act normal. That night, Elliot is woken up from a nightmare and tries to sneak out of the house, but he runs into Hazel. She asks him about the mysterious customer who took photos of him, but he claims to know nothing. When she inquires about his past and secret, he agrees to tell her on the condition that she tells him about her past. She refuses, so they separate for the night. After he leaves, she notices the mysterious man camping outside to take photos of Elliot. When the man drives away, she stalks and follows him to a motel. So, she sneaks into his room and knocks him unconscious. After a while, he gains consciousness, but sees Hazel pointing a gun at him. When she questions him about the photos, he reveals he's a freelance journalist making a report on Elliot. He also confesses that Elliot had murdered someone and was on the run. He tells her to check his computer for evidence. There, she finds a news report on Elliot. It turns out that Elliot was a famous heart surgeon who killed his girlfriend in a drunk driving accident. He served prison for 4 years and had been released. After hearing this, Hazel takes the man's computer and leaves.
Catch you in my diner again, I'll use your nuts for chili.
Life returns to normal for Hazel, and she resumes her routine of attending to her usual customers. On this day, she sees her daughter crying about the missing boyfriend and goes to console her. But the girl walks out on her. As she chases after her daughter, she suddenly runs into an old friend outside the diner. The man, Phil, announces that their boss has been released from prison.
Okay, when?
Tomorrow night.
When she hears this, she instantly understands his motive for showing up. He instructs her to show up at a location the following day, and she agrees. But as she walks back into the diner, he comments on her daughter and commends her for raising the girl. However, his words spark anger in her. The next day, while having breakfast with Elliot, she tells him about her encounter with a journal and shows him some files about the man. So he confesses that he had performed surgery on the journalist's father. But the surgery was unsuccessful, so the reporter decided to take revenge by writing articles about his drunk driving incident that killed his girlfriend. After hearing his story, Hazel asks him for a favor. She begs him to look after her daughter while she travels out of the city for a night.
For fun times.
No.
He agrees to this, so that night, she honors her appointment and meets Phil again. Phil introduces her to the boss, who's happy to reunite with her after 20 years. He recounts how he had met her homeless while she was 15. So, he took her home and trained her to become a top-notch assassin. After recounting this story, he reveals that he wants her back on duty. He offers a huge advance payment if she kills a client named Perry, but she turns down the offer and insists on not returning to her old life.
I know I owe you big time, but I can't do it.
Upon hearing this, he begins to talk about her daughter and also mentions that he knows about the missing daughter's boyfriend. She immediately understands his hidden threat and decides to take up the job. That night, she goes to a casino to secretly stalk her target, Perry. Then she returns home to have a drink with Elliot. While drinking, she tells him a little bit about her past when she was an addict, but got rescued by a man who trained and trapped her all her life. After the drink, she invites Elliot to sleep with her, so they make out with each other on a table.
I knew you were in here.
The next day, she meets him again and tells him about her plans to leave that night, asking him to look after her daughter. And he agrees. So that night, she dresses seductively to the casino. Then she pretends to bump into Perry, who's surprised to see her. He invites her to his private suite, and they begin to catch up on old times. As he finishes his drink, she volunteers to pour him another cup while he talks about his business. Seeing him distracted, she immediately slips a drug into his cup and offers it back to him. Unaware of her intentions, he collects the drink. But instead of drinking it, he begins to question her for suddenly leaving him after they slept together 20 years ago. He confesses that he loves her and wants to continue their relationship. Hearing this, she becomes uneasy. So, as he's about to sip the drink, she suddenly snatches it away to kiss him. As he deepens the kiss, someone knocks on the door to pass information. As he attends to the person, she puts the drink away to prevent him from taking it. When he returns, they kiss before planning to meet each other again. So, Hazel returns to her everyday life at the diner, with Elliot still working as a dishwasher. But unknown to her, Elliot is actually an undercover agent working for the boss. The boss instructs him to monitor and report on all of her activities, so he agrees before leaving.
My reason. You understand?
I understand.
Back at the diner, one of the cops complains to Hazel about the increasing number of missing teenage girls in the area. So she asks her chef for info, and he tells her he knows nothing. Hearing this, the cop tells her to report on any information she gets about the missing girls. Meanwhile, Phil shows up at the diner to remind Hazel that Perry will be leaving the town, so she has to eliminate him soon. Seeing her hesitation, he reminds her to finish the job or risk losing her daughter. Hazel storms off in anger, so Elliot goes to console her. She tells him that she needs to leave again and begs him to look after her daughter. Upon seeing her having a breakdown, he consoles her with a hug, but she pulls away. After she leaves, he immediately sends a text to the boss, telling him that Hazel plans on carrying out the task in the night. That night, Hazel sneaks into her daughter's room to check up on her. Then, she goes to meet Elliot to tell him about her plans to leave for a job. He tries to stop her from leaving, but she insists on doing what she has to do. As soon as she leaves, he calls the boss to give an update. Meanwhile, Hazel pulls up at the hotel to meet Perry. She loads her gun and enters the elevator to meet him. As Perry waits for her in a hotel room, someone delivers a package to him with a photo of Joy in it. Seeing this, he realizes that Hazel had a child with him who's now 20 years old. As he sits down to comprehend this, his wife suddenly storms into the hotel room to see him. So he lies that he isn't cheating on her and that he prepared the romantic setting for their date. Meanwhile, Hazel has a change of mind and pulls up at her boss's hideout. As she kills one of the guards, the boss observes it through a surveillance camera and orders Phil to deal with it. Phil immediately loads his gun to find her, but she hides and shoots him. Then she goes to find the boss. He prepares his gun and waits for her, but she sees through his plans and shoots one of his arms. He tries to convince her to change her mind and even reveals that Elliot works undercover for him, but she ignores his rage bait and confesses that she no longer wants to work for him. Then she calls him Dad before killing him. It turns out he's actually her father. She returns home with blood all over her body, but immediately washes up and goes to check up on her daughter again. In the morning, she walks past Elliot ignoring his greetings, so he wonders the reason behind her sudden attitude. As she prepares to start work, her daughter comes up to her, and they share a hug. Once she leaves, Joy prepares to follow along, but hears a low calling sound from behind. When she turns around, she's shocked to see her boyfriend with blood on his face. It turns out he didn't die. He gestures for her to stay silent, so she agrees. Then, she goes to meet her mother and asks to borrow the car. When the mother agrees, she gives her a perk and leaves. So, Hazel resumes taking orders from customers. However, she notices that the chef isn't in the kitchen, so she goes in search of him. Outside, she notices a strange man beating up the chef and immediately runs to intervene. As she fights off the man, another strange man tries to kidnap a teenage girl. But when he sees Hazel, he abandons the teenager and goes to fight her. She immediately subdues him, but another man pulls out a gun and fires at her multiple times, so she's unable to move. Seeing her paralyzed, the men kidnap the girls and leave. Elliot rushes over to Hazel and tries to stop her bullet wounds from bleeding.